Time to discuss the stories that we've got us all talking today with Matthew Wright. Good morning, Matthew.
Morning, good morning.
Congratulations. And Nicola Thorp. Thank you, my friend. Love it. And Nicola, hello, Nicola.
Morning.
Morning.
Hi.
Looks nice as well, doesn't it?
It just looks lovely in the sunshine, doesn't it? Everywhere it does. Right, so let's talk about the holiday quarantining situation. First of all, that's our first story this morning. France holiday quarantine. I mean, next up on the list, is it worth booking anywhere to go on holiday, Matthew?
I have to say, I think it's a huge gamble. I was looking back over old stories, and it was only in the beginning of July that both the French and the Portuguese were criticising the UK's approach to COVID and sort of saying, you know, we're available for business, for tourism, and here we are sort of 6 weeks later, and it looks like the barrier's coming down.
Yeah.
The infection rate in France has now overtaken the rate in Portugal. Portugal's already on the quarantine list, so it seems inevitable.
Do you know what the R rate is in France?
I think it's just over 1. It was 1.05, I think, last week, but it's still going up.
Because this comes off the back of, we were told last night, Brits not being told to travel to Belgium, which is, I mean, Belgium's such a gateway country as well, isn't it? The amount of traffic comes through that. Bahamas. Andorra, yeah. So, I mean, was this inevitable? Do you think we've been too optimistic?
I think so.
It's all the way through. We know this disease. We're learning about the disease all the way through. The infection rates, new science is coming through, new knowledge, and I think there was a belief at first that as the winter came, it would die away, and I think it's now pretty clear that that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And the situation seems to change very, very quickly. And with a lot of holiday companies out there, as I understand it, look for all kinds of options to get you to give your money to them, and then every option available to stop giving it back.
For sure.
If they don't.
It's so difficult because we've been talking earlier on today about kids going back to school and how it's safe for kids to go back to school, and now we're telling people not to go on holiday. So you understand why people are so confused about,
it's,
you know,
all the
different messaging. Nicola, would you be comfortable going away?
I would probably try and chance it, but accept the fact that, you know, the likelihood is that whatever country you go to, the government could bring in these measures almost overnight. That's just part of the gamble that you have to take. But what we do need a bit more clarity on, I believe, is what the quarantine situation is, whether you're eligible for statutory sick pay if you're being told you have to stay at home, but you're not showing any symptoms. And then, of course, there are people who are going to fall through that universal credit gap if they have savings of over 15,000. So I would be a little bit careful about booking a holiday anywhere right now.
I know, it does seem staycation is the vibe, isn't it, at the minute? It really is. OK, right, next story now. With a bit of good news, actually. Infection rates did not increase in England when the lockdown was eased. So we kind of expected, didn't we, when we could, you know, socialise a little bit more, to go to pubs
Lies,
and this, that and the
lies
other.
and statistics, Rochelle.
Is that what you think, Matthew?
Well, if you look at, so they've looked at the England figures alone. If you look at the UK figures from, say, the 30th of June to the 1st of August, the infection rate has gone up by 37.9%. So the Telegraph is going out banging the drum with this fairly narrow selection of statistics just for England.
Look at me, I'm like, good news, I'm going to take good news.
Step back, and the picture, I'm afraid, is pretty grim. You know, it's small increases, but the infection rate is going up again in this country. Albeit,
and these are statistics that are from July.
What's that? Sorry,
so we've had a whole month since then.
Yes.
Sorry, the statistics we've been told are from early July. So we've had a whole month since then.
Right. OK. So anything could have happened.
But I mean, Matt Hancock put the success down to the public's efforts and sacrifice, as well as targeted measures to protect the healthcare service. Do you think we're going in the right direction in that regard? And people, my personal take is that we sort of spoke about this a bit last week, that people were so obedient, and we, like I said, we're a nation of queuers. People are so complicit that when the government thought, well, we've got to start easing restrictions and get the economy back on track, then that's where the mixed messaging came from. That's where the confusion's.
Well, I don't know about Nicola. My view sort of was that attitudes changed with Dominic Cummings, and that seems to me he's made front page news again today as a couple have come out saying they saw him in a wood back in the time of the Barnard Castle trip, and he said he maintained he wasn't there, but this is another two witnesses saying that he definitely was.
Well,
so
it leads us on to the next talking point, really, which is the Cummings effect, and those that witnessed him breaking the rules again.
There's been a sort of study of surveys, if you like, which has been published in The Lancet, and within that, they found that there was a distinct drop in compliance to government messages the day after the sort of Dominic Cummings story broke, and that there is still an ongoing and persistent, lasting effect from that, which is that 70% of us no longer trust government messages on COVID, which is, you know, really tricky as they're trying to make this very, very difficult balancing act of getting the economy back while protecting life. And it's a nightmare. I mean, I have some sympathy for them because the ground changes all the time.
Absolutely, navigating it is very difficult. Nicola, do you think his impacts, his actions have impacted how we trust the government now?
I do think that his actions impacted our trust in government, but I don't necessarily think that they impacted our attitudes towards the social distancing measures and lockdown rules, because I think that people pre-Dominic Cummings would have behaved probably in the same way as they have done post. But it's that trust in the government. And now that this other couple have come forward and said that they didn't feel that their witness statement was taken seriously by the police, that just further dissipates our trust in the services that we're supposed to be looking up to and we're supposed to be taking guidance from.
Yeah, I do feel like a lot of people formed their opinion on him, though.
Yes.
The first time. Did we need a
excuse.
second time?
Looked for an excuse, perhaps.
Yeah.
And yet.
A lot of time in lockdown.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, he says, use your judgment, especially where children are concerned. You think, OK, that's my get out of jail free.
Yeah.
And yet, do you think this storm will pass again? I mean, it's obvious that Boris doesn't want to get rid of it.
Boris
and he doesn't hold elected office, so...
The way the government is moving, they're going to have a spokesperson representing Downing Street, addressing the press every day. And I think that's very much a Cummings idea. It would suggest that he's going nowhere fast.
OK, right. Well, finally, Nicola, I'm going to come to you first on this. Freshers' sex ban. OK, so Bristol Uni has sent freshers a list of rules, including no one-night stands or parties. My question is, who polices this?
Right. That's the main thing. Who is policing this? How are they going to enforce it? And on a more serious note, when I first read this story, it just made me think, well, universities have failed at such a large scale to deliver sanctions for people who've been guilty of sexual assaults, and they've failed victims of sexual crimes. And I just think, well, you know, an 800 fine for a one-night stand, what are they doing about people who are committing rape and committing sexual assaults? You know, we should be thinking about that as well. But no, I can't imagine anyone's going to be dobbing someone else in for a one-night stand. But yeah, is it just one-night stands? What if you end up in a relationship? What are the rules?
I don't know. Well, exactly.
I wanted to spend the rest of my life with this person. However, the university didn't let me. Yes, the fine's up to £800. Fresher students be restricted to bubbles of 12 to 15 people. I mean, how on earth
What if you
does this
don't fancy
work?
anyone in your bubble?
Well, they say
you're done.
That's it.
Freshers' Week, you meet the people that you then spend the rest of your time at university trying to shake off and get rid of. And now you're being forced to stay the whole time with them.
I love that.
That's great.
Oh, dear me. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you, Nicola.